So here we have the Lost Arkive website. Is a lovely website put together by fans of the game. Check out all the options that they have here to offer, but if you want to see what the founders avatars as well as the Northern Lawmaker avatars look like, as well as the pets and all that stuff that's being released, you're gonna go here to the 3D models tab. Then you're gonna see a list of all sorts of models, and they're all labeled here by the type that you're gonna look at, right? So if you wanna see the Northern Lawmaker avatars, just make sure you hit view all so you don't miss any that you're looking for. So right here we have the martial artist avatar. It's looking like these Northern Lawmaker avatars have like a Nordic theme, which is very cool. Then you go back, you can preview the mage avatar. They're all holding onto that similar aesthetic and just adapting to each of the different classes. And then we have the striker avatar. It's a more slimmed down version of the Berserker, but it keeps that Norse theme, that northern, lawmaker look. Here we have the Gunslinger avatar. Again, all the females and all the males have very, very similar aesthetics. So you're gonna see a lot of people using these avatars and they're gonna look like it's the same skin overall, but it's a nice little thing that they did for us. This avatar, if you didn't know, is exclusive to our Western release. This will not be in any of the other regions. Here's what the gunners will look like. The gunners share a similar rig to that of the striker, but they added this like fold on the side, which is a nice touch. And let's go back again. Here we can see what the assassins will look like. Again, I'm not seeing a lot of unique touches in the different classes. You're just seeing obviously the faces change, the body types change, because each class has a very unique aesthetic to them and silhouette. And finally we got the big beefy warrior Northern Lawmaker avatar. As you can see, they don't have the cloak that the gunners do, and it feels like they have a lot more chains, but it could just be my perception of it. Very Odin-esque, Norse mythology, very, very cool. So now we are going to review the platinum avatars. So here we're going to hit load more, and we're going to start with the Wardancer. So the Wardancer is actually all these skins or avatars, however you want to call them, they're a little aged as far as when the game released. These were some of the first avatars available in the game, and you can definitely see that they've aged as far as what the aesthetics of the modern avatars look like. You're gonna notice that if you watch some streams today and you see more of the newer, more recent skins, you're gonna see some of them have less of a grunge to their textures. In the older skins, you're gonna see a lot of like hyper tiny details, like these scales. All the metal is grungy and dirty in parts. Like there's so much detail in tiny little places, but at the end of the day, you're not really going to be seeing these characters up close all the time. If anything, you're going to be seeing them in a very small silhouette. So obviously the things that would stand out are things like these big shoulder pads, the ponytail, the big headdress. Obviously for these types of martial artist characters, you're going to notice their giant gauntlets. But as far as the aesthetics of this skin, is very balanced. I personally like it. I like how they went for like this white leg over here with this dark crimson leg on this one. Almost like she has a demonic side on this side and an angelic side on this side. But it's all being tied together by this dragon lion fusion of aesthetics. So yeah, there's the Wardancer right there. Now we're going to preview the striker. Now this striker founder's avatar is actually one of the more recent skins in the game. It's actually going to be dyeable in game. You're going to be able to go to this NPC in town that will let you use these dyes, and you can adjust the color scheme to your liking. And instead of gauntlets, it has these floating spheres that as you start to level up the level of your weapon, like the honing system, these will start to glow different colors and get all sorts of cool auras. And then when you see these guys walking around, it just looks like they're just powering up. So that is the striker avatar, very karate taekwondo aesthetic with some tattoos on his left arm. Now we're gonna go into the Soulfist. So the Soulfist, it might be one of those skins that maybe gets a second pass, but if this is any indicator, they didn't do anything to it. It's very revealing. It's very sexualized. If you wanna, you can say that she's very exposed. Like I said when I first revealed this skin in the first reaction video. Obviously, she has her breasts halfway exposed. She has the thighs showing. She has everything showing. And I really like her headdress piece. Her focus is pretty cool. These will spin in space around them as they're in the game. And overall, she has a pretty cool aesthetic, but it would probably be one of the more provocative of the Founders avatars. For actually a very, it's almost in direct contrast with the class it's for. I could see this being for maybe one of the assassins, but for the Soulfist, it feels like it doesn't really match the class that she represents. She's this very monk-esque Zen concentration class and all about key charging and releasing your spirit and your blast, and now they have her basically just stripping in this you know, she's flaunting her stuff, let's just say. Okay, all right, on to the next one. It's up to you if you like these. I have my own opinion on them. I've been working in video games for a long time, so I just have different things that I gravitate to. And now we're looking at the Sorceress starting Founders Pack avatar. This is, I believe, the one that they also launched with in Korea. She has a very witch aesthetic with all sorts of stars and lunar symbols and filigree and gems. She's very regal. She's got these extremely long boots that go all the way up to her mid-thigh or higher. This is the only part where I'm like, what is this? Is it a corset that just ended in little tight short shorts that were made for like lingerie or something? This is the section that I'm like, I feel like they could have done something more interesting here. Maybe a skirt that went over the socks, and then you brought the socks or the boots. They're like sock boots. I don't know what this is. This is like a fusion, but I would have brought the boots a little lower and then given her some sort of skirt. This just looks odd to me. This is the only part of the skin that I'm just like, you could have done something better there. But hey, maybe they were trying to be accurate to a specific type of outfit that I'm not familiar with. Obviously, the hair and face setup in all of these skins, it'll be up to you. The staff has a very, very cool aesthetic that has to do with like regal and solar and star themed shapes, and she has like stars everywhere and an explosion of regal symbols and a moon and another moon and then a crown up here. It's very, very interesting, very elaborate, and for all you players that like those mage aesthetics, that is the class for you. Now we're moving on to the Sharpshooter Platinum avatar, the Founder avatar. This one is definitely one of those that you either like it or love it. In my case, I'm indifferent about it. I like some of the ideas that went into the costume, but I hate the cowl. I dislike that it's so, it doesn't make sense for a class that's trying to aim and be accurate. Like all this stuff would get in the way of him actually aiming his bow. So something less shrouded and hooded. Like you can do a hood that's just more skin tight and expose the eyes a little more. This feels like this class would not be accurate when he's aiming down sights and things like that. But I like, you know, some of the aesthetics in the glove, in the shoulder. It's got that very rock star appeal to the bow, but yeah, definitely the rest of the avatar is very dated. And again, you're in these avatars, one of the things you're going to see a lot of is a lot of tiny minute details that you're just not going to appreciate when you're, you know, zoomed out. But for the camera mode in the game, when you want to take pictures, you'll definitely capture those. Now we're going to cover the Scrapper. Scrapper is a very cool class, and they actually gave her a very clean and ornate founder's avatar. The only thing I would actually say that doesn't really catch my eye are the gauntlets. I love this like wing right here, and then you have another one right here. I like how all the martial artist skins have like a Zen aesthetic and Eastern influence. Like this almost looks like rose petals right here. And you go into this almost horn headdress. Very cool, but the gauntlets feel like the silhouette is just not doing anything for me. I do like that it's a bird, but it takes you a while to realize it's a bird like resting on top of the gauntlet, and then this one single little horn here. And yeah, just if you see some of the crazy Scrapper skins that they've released over the years, this does not do her justice. I feel like these gauntlets could have gone way further than what they did. But overall, the actual costume, very regal, very interesting to me. I actually think it's one of the better looking martial artist ones, so very nice. Moving on to the Paladin. Now, obviously, the Paladin is a very fan favorite class, especially when it comes to the release skins or avatars. They always get like some of the most elaborate work on the models and textures. My only gripe or critique for this skin or avatar, whatever you want to call it, is just this. Look at how much grunge is on the armor. And I know what they're going for. They're going for those Crusader, like weathered battle armor with regal filigree all over it and wings. Obviously, he's a paladin, so there's almost like a religious aesthetic, but you're definitely going to see the angel wings. You're going to see some suns and rays and crowns, and you got the thorn crown. I mean, you can't avoid the fact that it's got very religious vibes to it. But I just wish they could have tightened up the white areas. I feel like there's just details that get lost, because the models themselves here on their ribcage have all these nice indentations, but you kind of lose them. Like when you look at him from the front, you can't really tell what's going on there. But then when you start seeing it from the side, you're like, oh, I can appreciate that. Like maybe some of this distinction that's happening in the back could have happened in the front a little bit to just make that pop a little better. But again, it's still one of the best looking skins of the whole batch. I'm nitpicking something that most people wouldn't care about. Fan favorite is this Paladin skin. So let's move on to the next one, which is the Gunslinger. Now the Gunslinger overall to me is a perfectly balanced skin. I love the Western aesthetic that it has. She can fit in right into a Western movie in like a post-apocalyptic environment. This giant rifle is just like an extended magnum. It's very cool, and obviously she's got these to accompany it. Like this is supposed to be a shotgun. Doesn't quite make sense that a shotgun has such a thin barrel, but whatever, it fits the aesthetic. Sometimes you can take, creative liberties, right? You also have the very cool sombrero. But with this skin, what gets lost is all the tiny details. Like right here, she's got this very elaborate leather jacket for her silhouette, but you can't tell all the things that are happening in it because they're so dark. that they almost blend into the whole shape of the jacket. But if you actually start to zoom in, you're gonna start to notice all these little thorns and little almost sheriff stars and little metal fangs and little spikes here and there and leather belts. And all this stuff here just almost gets lost from far away. You know, you can see the thorns on her bustier, if that's what it is. And obviously you can see her necklace. But the further you look away, you start to lose some of the detail inside of the leather vest. And then this is very cool too, all this elaborate design work that went into the corset that goes right into her pants. She's a very cool class, and I think a lot of fan favorite models are this one and the Paladin. Let's see what else we got. Okay, we got the Gunlancer. The Gunlancer almost looks like something you've seen before. This is the type of stuff you would probably see in World of Warcraft and similar games. It's got a very, you know, defender, guardian aesthetic, but again, you're gonna see a lot of grunge in all the metal textures, like stuff that in this day and age you would see more painterly textures and less texturized noise, because when you zoom out of this, obviously you can't see too much of it, and it just makes some of the texture work look dirty. And I know that was the intention to have like a semi-mix between painterly and realism, but this is a very dated way of texturing these types of models. And it almost feels like the shield and the weapon don't even match the aesthetics of the armor, because the armor is not as grungy. The armor has some cleaned up textures. It almost has like a Gundam helmet. There's like a lot of mismatch here, especially with the weapons and the armor. It's still a very cool looking armor. I think it's got some nice aesthetics and balance, and again, design language, and the silhouette is very clean. But I feel like they need to do another pass for the weapons, the gun lance and the shield, to either match the aesthetics of the armor or just clean them up a little bit, not so grungy and noisy. But overall, good silhouettes, good shape language. Then we got the Shadowhunter, another fan favorite class. She obviously screams almost demon-esque. I mean, her name in other region is demonic. So they really went with the demon vampire aesthetic here. You got the bat wings, and you don't have just one. You have two bat wings like draped as shoulder pads, then another set of two bat wings as just your back pieces, and then another set just tucked away. Obviously they're not bat wings, they're more like a cape, but they have that bat wing shape. So if you like bat wings, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 bat wings. If that is not enough for you, I don't know what is. The weapons also have a very cool aesthetic. I like the hot pink with the dark metal or obsidian metal. Very, very nice. But in my, if I had to tweak this a little bit, I would have either brought the wings closer to the aesthetic of the weapon or brought the hot pink closer to the aesthetic of the purple in the wings. Because I understand you want the weapons to stand out and things like that, but I'm always a fan of when you design an avatar that you're also designing a weapon to go with it, for everything to kind of carry over throughout the design. But overall, I mean, look at this. She has a skull. It almost looks like the Lich King right on her gauntlet there, There's all sorts of cool details on this one. You got like hellfire on the edge of her boots, turning into another like trident, demonic trident there. You got these scales and almost like a spinal cord right here that wraps around here, and she's got a snake, a demonic snake around her neck. I like this crown right here that she has. She looks very much like a succubus queen, and it's what she is. She's a a class that turns into a demon, and she has demonic skills. So overall, a pretty balanced avatar. And if you like this aesthetic, I know a lot of people will. We have the Deadeye, which will be my starting class. I'm not necessarily too thrilled about the Deadeye starting avatar, just because I feel there's almost too much going on and nothing quite ties together. Like, the jacket has an aesthetic about a dragon wrapping around his shoulder, and then on this side you got an eagle, and then over here you got some horns, and then you have a golden snake, and then you have another golden snake over here, and then you have like vertebrae that got turned into armor for there's just too much going on in this for my taste. Obviously for other people this is right up their alley, and again, we can agree to disagree. You can like what you like. I love the weapons for this avatar set, for example. I like that this one has this, they found the time to add this little snake over here, and some of that same shape language that's on the boot there, or that would be more like a shin pad. But anyway, it's great overall when it comes to the weapons, but I feel like they didn't quite find a direction to stick to. They were a little all over the place when they added things. It's a lot of snake language, but then why a dragon and why a bird? There's just almost too much. If they could have tightened it down, let's say they're going for a snake theme, go more with a snake theme. I know these kind of look like snake fangs in reverse, like when a snake pulls out her fangs, but they read as something else, as thorns, you know. Not my cup of tea, but some people will love it. Anyway, on to the next one. So now we have the Deathblade avatar. The Deathblade actually has this musketeer swashbuckler theme, which is very clean, very, very aesthetically pleasing. You got these beautiful metal adornments up here, and then they go down into these little mini capes attached to her thin cape, and then you have, like, this is her main blade, the sword, the saber that she uses. It's massive, but it's just all well designed. Everything is tight. This is a class that they knew what they were going for, and everything just kind of blends together well, from the weapons to the outfit, you know what I'm saying? And you got this for the daggers right here. So very, very clean. I have very little to say about this one. This is a very balanced one that carries the shape language from the weapons into the model. Again, they really like those high boots on the female characters. I like that they added these chains here to break up the silhouette and the symmetry, and then they added here to break the symmetry again. And if you like, you know, chains going around the boobs, you got chain boob mail right here, and she has like a little upside down bat right there, because the assassins in the game have a very sort of dark theme. Now we're going for the Berserker, a fan favorite class. This is the one that looks the most to me like from another game, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. This screams like almost World of Warcraft to me, with all the spikes coming out and the giant shoulder pads and the very elaborate like loincloth skirt for warriors, like almost like a gladiator. This one to me has a balance to it, but at the same time a chaos to it. Like, why did they have to do a mohawk and horns? If you're gonna do the mohawk and horns, tone one down. Don't make all of them go crazy and just come into the same point, like direction and point. There's just, I guess it fits the Berserker, and I'm nitpicking. There's people that love it, and you have every right to. I just feel like there's just too much going on, too much chaos. I like some of the newer Berserker skins. They have a more clear aesthetic. This just feels like, how many spikes can we put in this guy? How sharp can we make him that if you approach him, you feel like you're gonna like stab yourself by just getting close to him. Look at these boots. Like, what is this? What is this? He has like talons in the back and 6 spikes on the sides and the front. It's too much. The sword, on the other hand, very clean. This almost looks like a raven or some sort of bird. And I love these sides of the hilt. And I like that they broke the silhouette of the sword and they gave you these serrated blades. And I like this shape right here. Everything about the sword looks very nice to me. But again, it's one of those situations where the weapon feels like it had better direction than the character outfit. They have things that they have in common, but if you would have carried on the aesthetics of the weapon into the outfit, where, for example, they did spikes on the weapon, but they curved them. So if you curved more of your spikes as opposed to, I mean, they did it here and they did it on the horns, but something's missing. Something got lost in translation here for me. But if you like it and you think I'm just talking BS, fine. Get the avatar. I can have my opinion, you can have yours, and we're fine with it, all right? Overall, I like the weapon more than I like the outfit. Then let's go into the Artillerist. Now this one, at first glance, when you see it in different previews, you're like, wow, that's so cool. He looks like this cybernetic steampunk ninja, right? But overall, the silhouette to me is kind of boring. And the wings feel almost like they belong in some sort of temple-themed skin, and he's supposed to be almost like a steampunk character with advanced technology, but everything is so tightly wound and not doing so much for the silhouette that it just looks like an armored thief. This almost looks like a character that you would fight in the desert areas in the game. This doesn't look like what a hero character should wear. And then the weapon itself, the model is good, but the texturing is boring. They made this skull black with 2 blue eyes, so it just fades into obscurity. Like, you can't even tell too much of what's going on in there. It's just black smudges everywhere. It's too much grunge in the texture. I know with the weapons, they have to keep the poly count low compared to the skins. Like, overall, there's these rules when you're making models specifically for lower poly count games where you can't get too crazy and too elaborate with the shapes. And overall, the silhouette, again, the silhouette of this weapon is great, but the texturing is where I feel they could have gone way further than they did. And overall, it just feels smudgy and dirty. Like, look at the difference in this skull with this skull. Nothing to do with each other. If they carried over some of this detail, maybe, but overall, not one of my favorites. I think it's one of maybe the ones that hasn't withstood the test of time as much. Not a lot of these have, but this one probably feels the most out of a older game, you know? And last but not least, the Bard avatar has this very regal court jester aesthetic / philosopher composer with all sorts of avant-garde stuff. It's very, very elaborate and it draws a lot of attention to itself, but for all the right reasons. There's almost like chaotic balance as opposed to unbalanced chaos, like we talk about with the Berserker. Like this is just overall very, very clean, because when you're doing cloth is very, very hard to portray in 3D without it looking almost like it's made of cardboard, you know, sometimes. So they did a really good job here with all the details, specifically using an alpha to add this extra detail of filigree on the edges, and then you have this feather sideways cap over here just to break up the silhouette, and then she has more stuff coming out of the hat. The gloves are nice. This is another perfect example of the aesthetics of the outfit matching the aesthetics of the weapon. The shape language carries on between both, and they fit together. While in other classes, it feels like the weapon had one direction and then the outfit had another. So overall, if you like the Bard one, I think I approve of it. I think it's a clean, overall balanced Founder's avatar. Let's look at some other models over here. All right, let's take finally a look at the 3 cat models, and we're gonna end this part of the video. So a lot of people's favorite is the tabby cat with the golden crown and the red bow, and obviously people love golden things, so they have this golden aesthetic over here. This one has almost like a gunmetal black, dark, not quite bronze. I know they were going for gold, silver, and bronze, but bronze tends to have a little more hints of red in it, and it almost looks like a different type of metal. Maybe they weren't going for bronze. In this one, where I felt like they kind of lost some details was on the bell. The bell is shaded so dark that you can't even see the indentation detail unless you're like this close to it, this zoomed into it. So I feel like they could brighten that bell a little bit more, and overall brighten the metal textures in this one a little bit more, because you lose some of this metal rose detail on it that you can tell very clearly what it is, specifically on the silver one. The silver one to me is probably one of the most successful of the 3 when it comes to the adornments, the hat, everything about it looks pretty cool. But then the cat is just kind of a basic frosty white snow cat. While I feel like they could have done almost the same thing they did with the tabby, but they could have done it on the white one with maybe some gray tabby streaks, and same thing with the black one. If you're gonna release tabby and then 2 solid colors on the other 2, you're already making the decision that this one will look more visually interesting than the other 2. So if you wanted these 3 to have more balance, I would have just taken this tabby texture, carried it onto these 2, and made it fit within their color aesthetic. And then if you wanted to offer the solid color approach, which is a lot easier than this striped approach, then offer the 2 options. But I don't know. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on that, of offering more because a lot of people are just gonna automatically get the tabby cat. In my case, I like a lot of the dark and light aesthetic skins, so I might go with the white and black cat to match with future skins for my characters. But overall, very cool. All right, so that is it for the models for all the avatars, and I hope you like this video. Make sure to follow, subscribe if you like the content, and stay tuned. And remember to stay curious, my friends, because knowledge is power.